If you're looking for help with the mole to mass problems, you've come to the right place. I'm going to show you the first couple. In order to begin any mole to mass problem or any stoich problem, you need to make sure that you have your balanced equation. The balanced equation for the beginning problems is 2Al plus 3Cl2 yields 2AlCl3. The question that's being asked is how many grams of AlCl3 will be produced if 2.5 moles of aluminum react. So we always start with our given. Our given in this case is 2.5 moles of aluminum, and we're looking for how many grams of AlCl3. I'm going to write down my givens below the balanced equation so I can see what ratio I will need when I convert. So my given is 2.5 moles of aluminum. So under 2 aluminum, I'm going to write 2.5 moles. And I want to know how many grams of AlCl3 will be produced. So under that, I want to know how many grams are going to be made of AlCl3. So just like any problem, I start with my given. So my given will always be 2.5 moles of aluminum. Now I'm going to grams of AlCl3, and I have moles of aluminum. So my first conversion is I want to go from moles of aluminum to moles of AlCl3. In order to do that, I'm going to use the mole ratio. So my mole ratio comes from the balanced equation. So I know that my mole ratio is 2 aluminum to 2 AlCl3. So that's what I'm going to use as my conversion factor. I take the moles of Al, so I have 2 moles of Al. The number 2 came from the balanced equation. And on the top, I'm going to say 2 moles of AlCl3. It's very important to write out everything and be as detailed as possible. Now, if I stopped here and canceled my moles of aluminum, I would end up with moles of AlCl3, but I don't want that. I want grams of AlCl3. So I will need to do another step and go from moles to grams. In order to go from moles to grams, I use the molar mass of AlCl3. The next step will be the molar mass of AlCl3. So on the bottom, we write 1 mole of AlCl3. And on the top is the grams. You needed to take 3 chlorines and add it to 1 aluminum. You should have ended up with 133.33 grams of AlCl3. Now if we look at this, our moles of AlCl3 have now canceled out, and we are left with grams of AlCl3, which is what we want in the question. So now you need to multiply across the top and multiply across the bottom and then divide. When you multiply across the top, you should end up with 666.65. You're going to divide that by the bottom, which is 2 times 1, which is 2. So you should end up with 333.33 grams of AlCl3. That is your final answer. Let's try one more to make sure that you get it. We still have our balanced equation, and the question this time is how many moles of Cl2 must react to produce 12.3 grams of AlCl3. So we start, as always, with our givens and what we want. So we're starting with AlCl3 this time, and we're starting with 12.3 grams. And we want to find out how many moles of Cl2. So how should we go about doing this? The same way. We start with our given, which is 12.3 grams of AlCl3. We put that over 1. We first have to convert from grams to moles. So in order to do that, we use our molar mass. So to go from grams to moles, our molar mass is 133.33 grams of AlCl3, and that is equal to 1 mole of AlCl3. And the next step will be to go from moles of AlCl3 to moles of Cl2. And in order to do that, we have to use the mole ratio. So our mole ratio in this case is going to be 2 to 3. So our next step, we want moles of AlCl3 on the bottom. And the number in front of that is 2 in the balanced equation. And then the ratio to go to moles of chlorine is going to be 3. And we get that from the balanced equation. That's the coefficient. To do the calculation, we multiply across the top and get 36.9. And to multiply across the bottom, we get 266.66. We then need to divide this divided by this. And when we do that, we end up with 0.14 moles Cl2. If we look at the equation, we see that our grams have canceled, our moles of AlCl3 have canceled, and we are left with moles of Cl2.